Before we begin chapter 1, we'll go back to one more part of the introduction. Since our relationship with Hashem is a central part of the book and this series, let's take a few moments to discuss who Hashem is. Some of us never really gave any thought to who Hashem is. Whatever we learned or didn't learn in kindergarten, that's what we know. I've met many people who have been hurt in the name of Hashem. Many people feel distance from Hashem because they want to be distant from people who hurt them, who also professed to believe in Hashem. Others see Hashem as chas v'shalom, a theory that is meaningful in discussions but irrelevant in practical life. The Hashem that we're talking about in this series is different from all of the above. An atheist once said to a rabbi, "I don't believe in God." The rabbi said, "The God that you don't believe in, I don't believe in either." If thinking about Hashem activates hurtful, disempowering, or unpleasant feelings for you, and if you don't feel a sense of protection, a sense of reassurance and comfort when you think about Hashem, please know that in this series, when we talk about Hashem, we're not talking about a creator in whose name you were hurt, chas v'shalom, in whose name you were neglected, misunderstood, or mistreated. We're not talking about a power who is irrelevant or uncaring. Today, I'm inviting you to try something different. Stretch your awareness about who Hashem is. Explore a different dimension. Here's why it's worth your investment of time. Zelig was a poor man who could never afford to put anything but bread and water on his table. Even butter was a luxury. Every so often, Zelig would hear the town's richest man describe what it's like to bite into fresh, sizzling cheese blintzes. Zelig craved those blintzes. He dreamed of his wife Shterna preparing the rich man's food. One day, Zelig decided he had enough. He walked over to the rich man and said, "Please give me the recipe for your cheese blintzes." And the man happily obliged. Zelig practically flew home. Shterna, guess what? Shterna was so happy to make cheese blintzes, but when she read the recipe, she was stumped. She said, "How am I going to make this without the cheese and without all the other ingredients on this list that we don't have in our closet?" "That's easy," Zelig said eagerly. "Just replace whatever is missing with some flour or water." A short time later, when Zelig sat down to eat his own homemade blintzes, his mouth was drooling with anticipation. He stuffed a huge piece into his mouth, and he spat it out within seconds. "That rich man doesn't know what he's talking about," Zelig decided. "Cheese blintzes are not at all tasty. They're nauseating." Now, if any of us could talk to Zelig, we'd say, "Hey, listen up. What you had wasn't blintzes. It was a cheap imitation. Don't sell yourself short." And then we'd offer him a taste of the real thing, right? So I'd like to share the same message with anyone whose feelings of shame and mistrust get triggered when we talk about Hashem. Whether or not you like cheese blintzes is a matter of taste. By contrast, though for sure Hashem is infinitely incomparable, Hashem is always good, entirely and exclusively. Hashem is not an uncaring power in the distant heavens. He's not a fearsome, punishing fire. And if your perception of Hashem is different than loving, please know that this book and this series, we are talking about a different Hashem, the real one. So let's establish a few key truths about who Hashem is. In later chapters, we'll come to know these ideas on a deeper and more personal level. But for now, let's at least just put some of the cards on the table so we get a little taste. First, Hashem is the exclusive power. In fact, Hashem is the one and only true existence, for everything exists only through Him. This is what we mean when we say, Ein od milvadai. We don't just mean that there is no other God, that there's no other power. We mean there is no other oid, there's no other nothing, there's nothing. How is this? Because Hashem creates and recreates the world every single millisecond. The only reason that anything exists is because Hashem wants it to exist. So that means that nothing has value or power on its own. All of creation is entirely dependent on Hashem. Nothing exists outside of Him. When the Kutzker Rebbe was a young child, someone once asked him, "I'll give you 5 rubles if you tell me where Hashem is." And the young tzaddik answered, "I'll give you 20 rubles if you tell me where he is not." Because Hashem is everywhere and Hashem is the only true existence. And that brings us to the second idea, that Hashem is present. Someone once asked me at what age we could start teaching children about Hashem. I said, we could start teaching about Hashem even before a child is born. The person said, but isn't Hashem very lofty? Like, isn't Hashem beyond a child's understanding? How can we teach young children about loftiness? And I said, Hashem is always beyond understanding. There's no age when we become smart enough or developed enough to understand Hashem. And that's exactly what we need to know from the earliest age. That this Hashem, who is so much greater than us, this very Eibishter, who's beyond our understanding, is also miraculously, incredibly our loving, caring protector. And he is right here with us in this room, always, everywhere. Hashem is great and lofty, yes, but he's always relatable. Hashem is fully present here and now in every inch of our lives. There has never been and there will never be a corner of the world that's empty of him. The third idea we can talk about is that Hashem loves each and every one of us. The Baal Shem Tov famously taught that Hashem loves each and every one of us as much or even greater than a parent loves their child who was born to them in their old age. What does that love mean? It means caring. It means intense connection. Hashem wants only the best for us. This is true no matter what we've done in our lives, no matter why we think it's not true for us. There is nobody who's an exception to his love. Some of us might think it's very nice that Hashem loves us, but I don't see that in my practical life. This brings us to the fourth idea, that Hashem directs every detail of the world. If you look at your life, you look at anything that you have, the only reason you have it is because Hashem allows you to have it. Hashem blesses us with every single thing that's going right. Obviously, we always notice what's going wrong, but every single thing that's going right is a gift and a blessing from Hashem each and every day, in each and every moment anew. Nothing can happen to us without Hashem wanting it to happen. We can't get what Hashem doesn't want to give us, and nobody can take away from us that which Hashem wants us to have. Every single detail of our lives is directed by Hashem for a purpose that is always in our best interest. Can we see the goodness always? Of course not. Hashem is way beyond our understanding. But it's always in our best interest, and it's always for a purpose that's in our best interest. And that brings us to the fifth idea, is that Hashem created us for a purpose. What's the purpose? Hashem wants to be known in every blade of grass in the earth, every dream soaring in the heavens, and everything in between. Hashem wants to be depended upon in every room in our homes and in every corner of our hearts. As carriers of his light, we are entrusted with this mission to know Hashem and to let his presence make a difference in every part of the world, within every dimension of our lives. Our sixth idea is that Hashem wants to have a relationship with each of us. And that relationship is not just about what we do. Of course, it's about what we do, about the Torah that we learn and the mitzvahs that we do. But it's not just meant to be transactional. It's meant to be transformational. Hashem wants us to turn to him with our joys and with our sorrows, on our good days and on our better days. Hashem wants us to trust him and depend on him. Hashem wants to take us out of our misery and self-pity. He wants us to hold on to him, riding on his truth to overcome our self-imposed limitations. Now, all of these are just a few glimmers, a few little ideas about Hashem's awesomeness. If we've been substituting these ideas with the poor man's version of who Hashem is, then let's discover the rich man's version. David HaMelech famously says in Tehillim, Ta'amu ru'u ki tov Hashem. Taste and you will see that Hashem is good. By absorbing the truth about who Hashem is, That's how we experience his goodness. That's how we see it. Knowing and thinking about Hashem's awesomeness makes us realize how blessed we are by the fact that he wants to have this close relationship with us. Truly accepting his power as the exclusive source of all our needs, it disentangles us from our dependency on people and on other things. It's impossible to know the truth about Hashem and it won't have an impact on our lives in a massively empowering, joy-generating way. If our awareness of our relationship with him doesn't result in positive experiences, then we're not fully aware. It's like we're eating some concoction of flour, water, and cheap imitation ingredients. We're calling it blintzes, and we're saying that blintzes aren't good or that blintzes aren't tasty enough. They don't make a difference because real blintzes are sweet and flavorful. And when you eat them, you taste the sweetness. Eating blintzes does something to your system, but only if they're real and only if you actually eat them, right? Tamu ru'uki toiv Hashem, you have to taste it to see it. In a much bigger way, the awareness of our connection with Hashem is huge enough to make an incredibly wonderful difference in our lives this minute. But two things need to be in place. First, our understanding, our knowledge needs to be consistent with reality. If we have a different version of reality, it just doesn't do it. Secondly, if we want that impact to flow through our lives, then we need to do more than talk about it. We need to bite into it, chew it, swallow it, digest it. We need to learn it, think about it, talk about it, toss it around in our minds, form a personal connection with it, think about it enough and talk about it enough to make the ideas practical and relevant in our lives, and form a personal connection with it and act on it. Our personal relationship with Hashem is a central theme of this book. Don't worry if your relationship isn't yet developed in a positive, meaningful way. At the same time, don't let your old relationship get in the way of the new one you're able to form. If it's helpful, use a different word to refer to Hashem so that you can more easily differentiate between the one in whose name you've been hurt, or the one who was previously irrelevant, and the one who is your loving protector who makes all the difference this very minute to whatever you're dealing with, to whatever situation you encounter today.